All right, we're back after a few weeks of circumstances, out of our control. We back. That's all that matters. We're back. We're
That's all
alive.
this
We're
about.
here. Exactly. We're here for you.
Circumstances.
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 Exact circumstances, man. There's always circumstances. You know better than anybody in the fight game. It's all about the circumstances. And this whole fucking fight week was circumstances, right? Like just
Oh.
craziness. I don't know if there's been any like UFC event that was like this one. Do you recall any?
Or like maybe like a one-off fight, but not to this extent. Not to have a card. The main three fights on a pay-per-view card get entirely shuffled about. I think that has to go down in the history books, right?
Yeah, it does. It does. It does go down in the history books. And before we start getting into breaking down everything that happened on this card, especially on the main card, the pay-per-view portion of it, make sure you go down to the descriptions and download that app, the AllStar app. All right, you guys do that. You're helping me out. You're helping the AllStar out, and yeah, it's a great app, man. We've improved it so much over the last couple of months. Go in there, download it, check it out, customize it. If you're an MMA fan, you could customize it for MMA. If you're a football fan, whatever, any sport, just go down there and play with it. That's what I want you to do. Play with it, right? Um, now let's just start with the main event, man. Like Nate Diaz versus Tony Ferguson, a fight that we thought we were gonna get 10 years ago. We finally got it. Right. And and I don't know. I thought Ferguson looked all right. I thought Nate looked all right. I think those guys fought well. The finish was kind of weird. Let's talk about the finish, right? Was he rocked? Was Ferguson rocked?
No, I don't think he rocked. Like that's something that got told in his corner, right? I believe it was Eddie Bravo. I pretty much recognized his voice, and he just said, "If the shot's there, like take the shot." And maybe that's because they could kind of knew keeping track of the fight that he was down, right? He definitely lost two, if not three rounds going into that fourth round. So he definitely had to show like a different feather in his cap. But yeah, that's not the best move against Nate Diaz is to shoot on him, right? I feel like Tony was having a lot of success with that inside leg kick, and then with his right leg to the inside of Nate's lead leg, and then he kind of left it alone. He was getting like a good reaction from that in the first half of the third round, and to me, it like seemed he'd kind of solved the puzzle and he'd figured a bit out, but he kind of left it alone after that and went back to his punching. And when he was punching or trying to hit Nate, he was like lunging too far into his punching and getting caught on the counter from Nate. So weird fight. I would say it was like a bit mess. It was a messy fight. There's no, I don't think there's any real denying that. I feel like Tony's like still adjusting to the weight. He obviously like he can take a pretty good shot, or he's always been able to take a pretty good shot and recover. He seemed like he was able to handle the shots, and he didn't seem like that was hurting him. He didn't seem like too hurt at any stage of the fight. But from my opinion, he definitely slowed down. Like he's not as quick. Like we talk about how well he started that Chandler fight. Like that was he just got hit with like a Hail Mary shot. And I can understand the weight shift. Like four losses, he needs a fresh start in the new division. And welterweight is a division that he competed in the Ultimate Fighter. So he's fought in that. He's definitely can't make 45. Um, but yeah, he's still adjusting to the speed different. Like a lot of the stuff he used to be able to get away with due to his quickness and like natural agility. He can't really get out. Like a lot of the times he was turning his back or like spinning into shots, but it just looked like a bit slower than it usually did when he's far more agile at 55. So obviously he's still adjusting to the weight class, but yeah, it wasn't uh, it wasn't as good of a performance as his last performance. Although the result was obviously far different and far more terrible in the Chandler fight. I feel like his performance at 55 was like a lot better at that weight.
When you say it like that, and now that I think about how he was moving, he was a little bit slower because I expected him to have a little bit more. You know, like how people say if you go up a weight, you're going to be more powerful. But a lot of people, like you just said, it's like your body has to get used to that weight. You've been at 155 or fighting at
Yeah,
155 against the best guys in the world for so long, and then now you got to go up 15 pounds. 15 pounds is an extreme difference, right? For a fighter, for anybody, you know what I mean? Like if you lose 15 pounds, people could tell instantly, right? And your energy could be lower. What it is, you know, whatever it is, you know what I mean? But yeah, he did look a little bit different. Maybe, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Where does Tony go from here though? Like, you know, he's 5 in a row now. And people, you know, of course people are gonna be like, he should retire. Shut up with that. Like, people need to shut up about retiring and shit. Like, I hate when people are like, you need to retire. It's like, dude is fighting the best dudes in the world. Like, what do you fucking expect? You know, you're gonna lose some and you're gonna win some, right? Like, I think people need to understand that a little bit better. But I think Tony, he's gonna get another fight at 170, and I think he's gonna get a good matchup. I think, you know what matchup that I like to see Tony in is him versus the Leech.
yeah. No,
I think
I
that's
was
a good
just
fight.
thinking that I feel like that's still I feel like that's still a possibility, but like the leech fought really well. The leech is very fast, very powerful, very quick. Yeah, I would like to see Tony. If not, well, I would like to see him come back, even come back to 55. To mine, he looks better there, and he's got a lot of fun matchups. He can definitely move back to 55, and then maybe fight a Jim Miller, maybe fight a Clay Guida, maybe fight like these. I know there's like guys that he's competed with before, but these fights like make a lot of more sense than staying at welterweight and perhaps fighting like a young hungry killer. You know, I'd like to see him if he is going to stay at 170. I'd like him to fight. There's a lot of good matchups out there, just not like rush him into like Nate Diaz was handling him quite well. Like won every round and finished him. And I'm not trying to like knock Nate or anything like that. Like he's a hell of a fighter, and I can understand, but he's not even like a ranked welterweight, right?
Yeah.
Like he's not. That's just the facts of the situation. So, unranked welterweight was able to handle welterweight Tony Ferguson quite easily. So, yeah, maybe like a fun matchup. Maybe a fun matchup at welterweight. The Leech or Tim Means or you know I'd feel like I'd like to see like a Tim Means matchup, like a guy that's unranked, had some losses, and it'll be a fun fight. I feel like Tony Ferguson still has a lot of fun fights left in him. Um, and he's obviously wants to keep fighting and wants to commit. And at the end of the day, that's really what it comes down to is the person, and it's within themselves. And when they want to call it a day, it's not like anyone else's place to come in. Like you can look at Bigfoot Silver, like he's been knocked out. He's been knocked out like twice in the last couple of weeks, and he's fighting again next week. Like he just wants to fight. He wants to keep competing. And it's a hard one. It's a hard one to it's a hard one for someone sitting on the outside to tell like a guy like Tony Ferguson, you need to stop fighting. Like he's still making a boatload of cash. I'm sure of it. He just headlined the pay per view. That's his last fight. The reality of his last fight is he just headlined a pay per view event for the UFC, and that's got to come with a paycheck.
You think he's getting a milli off that? You think he reached that level?
Yeah, yeah.
Damn,
I
that's
don't
beautiful.
think I don't think he wouldn't have got pay per view points. I feel like Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz was the one that was selling pay per views on that card. Yeah, undoubtedly, Khamzat Chimaev is like a huge star in the future, but in terms of selling pay per views, I don't think he's quite there. He's quite there yet at the negotiation table, but without a doubt, I'm sure Nate Diaz is getting pay-per-view points. I don't feel like Tony Ferguson will get pay-per-view points, but I'm sure stepping up to the main event, his contract, he'll get a little letter. Let's just say that he'll get a little he gets a little letter with a couple of extra zeros on it. I'm sure of it.
It'd be better just for them to carry suitcases out there, right? Just cash, just so Tony could walk out the stadium with 2 briefcases. You know what I mean? They could take a picture of it. Like what is that? Like WWE, they have that like briefcase, Money in the Bank. I don't
Yeah,
really watch it, but
Money in
I'm
the Bank.
figuring, yeah,
We should
why
have
not?
Money in the Bank fights. Like there's like a wild card title fight.
Yeah, I saw that on
I know,
Twitter.
right?
Someone was suggesting like
Wow.
every event should have like a mystery fight. Like you don't know who's fighting until the event. Like you don't even know if they weighed in or anything. You just like,
I'm
yeah,
down.
you're at the
I'm
show.
down. I'm
That would be
down. I'm
crazy,
down.
right? Because imagine like there's a mystery fight and the first one to walk out is like Ronda Rousey, like
Yeah,
that.
if you go, what?
You'd be like, what the fuck? Who the hell is she fighting? Right? Like, like that would be crazy. I think that would put some excitement to it. That's some WWE level shit, but UFC will never do that. Come on, man. It's a sport. It's a sport, right?
It's a
It's a
sport. Allegedly.
allegedly.
It's allegedly a sport.
Yeah. Let's before we talk more about Diaz, let's get this. Oh well, this is a question about Diaz, but actually it's to you. Mellow Man 001. Dan, just wanted to send some love from Canada. You're a legend. Hope you get paid millions. You folks deserve all the money for what you do. Question: what should Nate do next?
Yeah, he looks like he's going to boxing, right? Like that's the kind of hint. It's the breadcrumb he was laying out there. He looks like he's going to boxing in the next one. Obviously, like you can look at their performance. He's obviously not going to go and try and fight an elite level boxer, Canelo Alvarez or something like that. It's just impractical. You know what I mean? I'm not saying he's a very good boxer for mixed martial arts, but being a very good boxer in mixed martial arts and then a purist specialist of that caliber, you can't compete. You can't compare the two skill sets. It would be like Canelo trying to beat Nate in a jiu-jitsu tournament. Like that's how I would compare the difference in skill level. So obviously, I feel like the Paul brothers, to some extent, would be a great matchup, or even potentially, I'm sure you could drag Floyd Mayweather out for an exhibition at the top of a Dubai tower. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, of
that,
course.
and that's something that would interest a guy like Nate Diaz a lot more. Like obviously he still wants to prove his skill set, and he's still like very confident in his skill set. So going like directly beelining for a Paul brother who's about to fight Anderson Silva, like that is a hard fight for him. So maybe potentially even his brother or an exhibition bout with Floyd Mayweather. I think would be a strong possibility. Like Nate's a big pay-per-view seller. Mayweather's a big pay-per-view seller. I'm sure he'll make more money from that than he has in his entire UFC career. Like that's
Yeah.
that's just the facts. Had McGregor fought Mayweather without having to give the UFC a slice of the pie, I doubt we would have ever seen McGregor fight ever again.
Yeah.
That's just how much money he would have walked away.
Yeah, you make a good point right there. Nate Diaz, he's walking away with no strings attached. I mean, whatever money he makes, it's his money. I mean, it's his team's money. It's his, yeah, it's like there's nobody taking a slice. And you said it, like Mayweather, he'll fight anybody in an exhibition match, right? And he's gonna fight in Japan. He's fighting one of the Asakura brothers, who's a mixed martial artist, but they're gonna go box in an exhibition in Japan.
Yeah,
Which,
yeah. Like Floyd is still competing, and
yeah,
I'm sure Floyd is a guy that's very comfortable taking a fight like that, regardless of age. He's still Floyd Mayweather. He's still undefeated. He carries all of like the world's best resume. Um, I would watch it. I would watch it. That's a fight that intrigues me, and that's a fight that doesn't necessarily like because Nate's already come out and said, right? He's been asked about Jake Paul, and he said that's silly. I wouldn't like disrespect my skills like that. I feel like it's a tough fight. I feel like the kid can actually box, and I feel like Anderson Silva's going to have the advantage in that. But he's a legitimate boxer, and in terms of like size, he is way bigger than Nate Diaz, like way bigger. And I would say that Floyd Mayweather is closer in size to Nate Diaz than Jake Paul is to Nate Diaz.
Damn. Because when you think of Mayweather, you don't really think of. I think what is he like 150 pounds or something like that, maybe at the
Yeah, well,
heaviest.
he fought Canelo at 150, 155. I think he
Yeah,
fought Canelo. Like he moved up. Like he comfortably. I believe he weighed in under that though, when
yeah,
he actually fought. Yeah, well, he weighed in because they like boxing, they weigh the fighters on fight day as well, which is something I feel like the UFC should do as well. They weigh the fighters at their weigh-in, and then they weigh the fighters on fight day. And Floyd Mayweather, I believe, for that Canelo fight, like weighed in at around 155, and then he was actually lighter on fight day than he was at the weigh-in, which is unheard of in mixed martial arts.
yeah, yeah. That is definitely unheard of, man. I to me, I think what's gonna happen is there's gonna be a long negotiation period. I think the UFC is gonna try to negotiate with Nate Diaz to bring him back. I think they're gonna try everything that they can to bring him back for at least 3 fights, or make some kind of special contract for Nate Diaz. I don't know. I think they need to hold on.
By him, yeah, but by him finding out of his like this is the purpose of it, right? Like maybe Nate doesn't even intend to fight elsewhere, but his current contract, him fighting out that contract, leaving on a win, leaving as a huge pay-per-view star, um, now gives like he tests free agency, right? He tests free agency, and he now like has the ability to show other UFC fighters where they stand in an open market, which is incredibly dangerous for the UFC. Like if he goes out and he's like PFL drops millions of dollars to sign him, or Ryzen drops millions of dollars to sign him, or he goes away and fights uh, Floyd Mayweather and gets $10 million, it's really going to open a lot of other UFC fighters' eyes. So I really can see the UFC doubling, tripling, quadrupling whatever contract he was on, just so that doesn't happen, just so fighters aren't as aware of their ability, because it hasn't really been done with a guy like that in Nate Diaz's position. It's usually when guys are like going out on like a huge low, you know what I mean? Or they're like multiple losses, lose, break their leg, then
Yeah,
fight somewhere else. So
yeah.
it's very difficult for a fighter at the pinnacle of the UFC to test free agency. It's effectively unheard of.
I love it. I love it. I want to see what happens because free agency is something that this sport it's in its infancy, you know what I mean? Like every other sport, free agency is just a normal thing that happens every year. You know what I mean? And everybody's excited about it. Who's going where, who's signing his, how much money is he getting? Is it guaranteed? Is it not guaranteed? Like it's in other sports, that's how it is. In MMA, in fighting, not so much, right? So remember a few weeks back, what's his name? Shane Burgos, right? He
Mm,
won his last fight. He fought out his contract. PFL came with an offer that he could not refuse. He said
yeah.
it. He could not refuse the offer. He's setting his family up with the money that he's going to get paid by the PFL. And even Dana White said that they fumbled on that. They wanted to keep
Well,
the
they don't usually. like he's a prospect. It's not like he was fighting for a title or like an elite level guy or like a great run, but he still had a lot of juice left in the tank. You know what I mean? There's still a lot of juice left to squeeze, and usually I'm taking it to traditionally the UFC squeeze every last drop of juice before they let go of a fighter. You know what I mean? So that effectively makes it more difficult to negotiate in free agency. Yeah, Shane Burgos is that was a funny one. That was a funny one, and then to have the UFC and Dana White like openly admit that they had made an error and made a mistake, that's also quite unheard of.
And you know, someone got their ass just chewed the fuck out behind the scenes, right? Like for him to admit that, something. Someone got some
Oh
fucking
yeah,
little
for
slap on
sure,
the back of the head.
for sure.
And you know who else signed with PFL? I think a few days ago, Thiago Santos,
Oh
just out
yeah,
of nowhere. Yeah, just out of nowhere. You know what I mean? I'm
yeah.
just like, what the PFL, man? These guys are throwing around some cash, and it's a beautiful thing. I like it, man. I like this free agency thing. You know, I wish
Mm-hmm.
Bellator and you know all these other promotions would start hopping on and throwing out the numbers. You know, like let's see some numbers. Let's see these numbers. I want to see like, okay, one championship. What are you paying Demetrius Johnson? Like I would like to see it. You know what I mean? It's not our business, but I would like to see it. I would like to see it and then compare it with like the UFC, like
That's
someone
that's
that
like that's how they all that's how all they all keep the money low, right? Is that like we only learn through like word of mouth, right? We only learn by guys that we know.
yeah.
Like I can ask, what did you get? What did you? I can ask my teammates, like, man, what are you like? What money are you on? What did you get for this? What did you get for that? And that's like the only way we generally compare. Like, I can't remember who was saying it, but there are like a handful of MMA managers, probably like 4 or 5 guys, 4 or 5 different companies that handle a majority, 90%. Like 4 or 5 guys have 90% of the UFC roster on their
Yeah.
contract. So then the UFC only has to do deals with like 4 or 5 guys. It's very easy to control 5 people in comparison to trying to control 500 people.
Yeah.
And they try to keep it in that tight knit community. So the only way that we know is the only way that it improves is guys like going out, getting lots of money, and then actually telling us telling us what they're getting. It's like the only way that we're actually going to figure out what free agency looks like.
Yeah, the fighters will definitely have to be more open about, you know, how much they get paid if they want to. It's their choice, right? But I would like to see it. I would like to see, you know, these guys start to compare numbers because I've seen, you know, behind the scenes you hear a lot, you know what I mean? Even from the people themselves, you know what I mean, what they tell you, like this is what I'm getting. And I'm telling you, like some of these promotions are paying a lot of money to guys that have a name, but maybe they haven't fought very well recently, but they still get paid crazy, like $1 million a fight. I'm telling you, guys are getting paid $1 million a fight outside the UFC. I'm telling you right now, there are guys out there, and that's great to see. I wish they would start to invest more in the up and coming guys and pay them a little bit more too. But you know, it is what it is. So Nate Diaz, I guess he's going to boxing, but for some reason, and he's going to become a promoter. You know, like he has this promotion that he's putting up out there in Stockton. I think his brother did that before, and they had one show, and then we never seen it again. So I don't really put too much stock into people starting promotions.
That is like a super tough gig. That
Yeah,
it is. It's a night. It looks like a nightmare. That's like the one. That's like the one aspect of fight sports that I've yet to like delve in. Obviously, like having a gym and
yeah,
all of these other things, all these other avenues, like I've touched on a little bit, but like fight promotion looks like because Dana White, that's his main defense. He says, "You think that you can do better? Go and start a fight promotion. Go and start a fight promotion and see you can do better." And it is it's a hard slog. It's like an incredible grind. Fighters are incredibly hard personalities to try and organize. And
Yeah.
you can look at the weekend as an example. That's the most elite that's the most elite level promotion globally. And
Mm.
they had to completely shuffle one of the biggest cards of the year days out from the event. So imagine I was at XFC for my fighters, Aaron Toe's fight,
Mm.
and they had, I believe it was, they had 12 fights originally, and it went down to 7. They lost 5 fights in like the last couple of days before the event. They had 5 of their 12 fights fall apart. So it's common. It's very common. It's very difficult to run a promotion.
Yeah, it's like I would never want to do that. I'm gonna put that out there right now. You know what I mean? If anybody wants to like hire me to, no, I'm not gonna. That's very stressful. It's like people coming.
I would matchmake. I would matchmake.
Yeah,
But besides matchmaking, like nah.
it's like people coming up to me and be like, "Yo, why don't you become a manager?" And I'm like, "Do you know what managers have to go through? Being a manager is a tough job, especially when you have like a bunch of fighters. You know what I mean? A bunch of them, and they all need something from you. It's very hectic, man. Like it's a tough job. Managers, they have a hard job. You know what I mean? It's not easy.
It's such a well, it's just business. Like it's such a like fighter management is such like a contradiction for me because I come from being a fighter and a martial artist and dedicating my life to it, and not necessarily being in it for the money, but then seeing like the business side of the sport like really is like business. You go
Mm.
into any like business room and try to trade commodities with another businessman. They're going to be very straightforward. They're going to be, you know, you're trying to trade timber, let's say. Like people are going to say, well, I'm not paying top dollar for this timber. This timber's damp. This timber's was cut at this time. This timber's inferior quality. Like this is the way business works. And it's the same with fighters. So like that side of it, you're talked about in the boardroom as a commodity. Like, well, this fighter's lost his last 2 fights. He's injured. He's had a knee surgery. He's rubbish. He's not worth that amount of money. Like, and that side of the sport, as the fighter and as a martial artist, is like eye opening and a little bit like it's a little
Cold.
bit dirty.
Yeah.
Cold.
Yeah.
That's the word I'm
Cold.
looking for.
Cold heart. You know what I mean? You gotta have a cold heart in these business rooms, right?
To be a successful businessman, like
Yeah.
you'd find very few people that would argue against that.
Yeah, that's the battle, right? It's like you wanna help people, but at the same time you wanna grow as with that whatever company or whatever entity you are, you want to grow. But to grow, you have to be cold hearted. You know, what I mean, you can't just be out there giving handouts to everybody, right? Because if you do that,
Mm.
then you become this company that never materializes into anything because you spent all your money on like
If you don't turn a profit, you don't grow, right?
exactly right. So we'll see, man. Nate Diaz, whatever he does, people are gonna watch it. You know what I mean? If he stays in the UFC, if he goes to boxing, if he goes to jiu-jitsu, if he's a fight promoter, if he's, smoking weed on the street, people are gonna watch that shit, right? So it's
For
just,
sure, for sure.
yeah, he has his army, and great for him. Now, the guy that Nate Diaz was supposed to fight, Khamzat Chimaev, he misses weight by 7 pounds, around 7 pounds, and then he flips everybody off. And man, he's really taking on this like heel role to the fullest now. It's like completely, even after the fight today, he's just like going off. I didn't even know what he was talking about, to be honest. It was just like he was just like babbling, and then you heard little words here and there, and then that's it. And then people are like, okay. But a lot of people don't care about that anymore, really. I don't know. What do you think of like the weight miss first? Like, do you think I saw something from like Mike Doce? He was saying that he did that to I don't wait. I actually don't remember exactly what Mike Doce said. I watched the video. Now I don't remember. I don't want to like interpret or like what he said, but it was something. It was something to do with like he did it on purpose. to gain an advantage? Like,
Um, nah, like that's like too much. I feel like that's too much weight to gain an advantage. I feel like that's such a big that's like such a big miss that the UFC would have been aware. Like they check our weights during fight week.
mhm,
Like the UFC weigh us a few days in advance. So it definitely he would have been seen it coming, and the UFC would have known about it. And what he was saying in his post-fight speech was that he was a lot lower than that, and then the UFC doctors had advised him to start rehydrating. So that all came together like pretty quickly as well, like
mhm.
the catch weight, the switch of opponent, and I feel like the UFC knew a day, if not 2 days, um, before it actually happened.
Yeah. Yeah, now that I kind of remember what he said, I'm trying to piece it together. He was talking about how like his last fight at 170 against Gilbert Burns, he had like a very tough weight cut. Like it took him to the edge of his life, and all of that stuff. And then that's why this weight cut they had to stop it, because if he continued, he would have been risking his health. Um, now past that, the performance that he had, we kind of knew what kind of fight that he was going to fight, right, against Holland. Exactly. Did you expect anything else?
Nah, like the old fake glove touch, and then just
Yeah.
grab a hold of a leg and drag him to the ground. This is like what this guy does, right? And I feel like you keep putting on performances like that, you can play the heel. You can play the heel, and your star will continue to grow. I feel like his stock still went up after that fight, and people just love winners. It's the nature of sport. It's the nature of competition. Um, they don't care what you say and what you do, as long as you continue to win. And now that he's not apologetic. He didn't try to defend what he had done. He instead embraced that heel role. I feel like his star will just continue to grow.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he's becoming kind of like like a lot of people are like, oh, he's like Habib, right? He's like Habib, but now it's like, no, he's not. He's Hamzat. Like Hamzat
Yeah,
he's a heel.
he
He's like the
swears. He's aggressive.
exactly. He's like, I kill everybody. Like it's like he's already drunk, but he hasn't drank anything yet, right? And I know he doesn't drink probably because of his religion, but yeah, he's like, I kill everybody. Like some
I
of the
loved it.
stuff
I
that
know.
comes.
I thought it was hilarious. Like he's like out there, like you can hear the USA, USA, and you pretty much get that like anytime someone from America fights
Yeah.
anyone from a different country, USA, and then for him to come out and say, I kill everybody, Allahu Akbar, like
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, like it's
Yeah.
just like the American fans will that'll get under their skin, right? Like that'll definitely fire them up. I guarantee you, everyone that tuned in will tune in next time he fights. Because at the end of the day, you can look at the biggest stars in our sport, Conor McGregor, in combat sports, Conor McGregor, Floyd Mayweather. You don't only get the people that want to see you win. You get the people that want to see you win, and you draw in the people that want to see you lose as well. That means you get everyone, right? Like that
Yeah.
means you get everyone to buy your pay-per-view, and that's the trajectory that Hamza is taking.
Do you think he gets a title shot next? I think he does. Even though he didn't make the weight, I feel like all he needed to do was win the fight, and that just lines him up. Whoever, I'm pretty sure they're gonna put the rematch between Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman. But if let's say one of them gets injured, I could see Hamza fighting one of those guys, sliding in.
That's a tough call because we haven't really seen anyone from the UFC give like an honest take on the Hamzat situation, and
Yeah.
whether like Dana White's legitimately pissed off, or he was going to make the weight, he was tracking to make the weight, and the UFC made the call to stop him, as he claims. That's his claim, right? said the UFC and the UFC doctors made the call. If it was a situation like that, then I feel like he's in line, and he could get himself a title shot. If it wasn't, and if he just missed by like this ridiculous amount, there's no way that they're gonna have him headline another pay-per-view, especially for a title.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Because he made everybody work extra fucking hard. Imagine like the people behind the scenes, they were probably pissed, dude. Wouldn't you be pissed? Like you have to
Yeah,
change
overdrive.
everything. Fuck.
Everything, the production crew, like everything, everything,
Yeah.
the stuff they've worked months on to put together is just throw it in the trash and start again. Let's get it done.
Yeah, in 24 hours too. That means you're not sleeping, you're not doing anything even close to resembling relaxing. Just you're working your ass off. But if they don't make that fight, Youngju, man, he knows what's up. He's like Khamzat versus Kobe. That's the fight. America,
That's the fight.
USA, Donald Trump versus the anti-America, not anti-America, but kind of like the heel guy, the
Yeah,
guy
yeah,
that comes
yeah.
into America and beats everybody
That's the
up.
fight. That's the fight. There's two heels, two heels,
Lovely.
just having a heel off. That's I like that fight. I feel like, and without a doubt, the winner of that fight, hands down. Even put them on the same card, right? Even have Leon Edwards, Kamaru Usman rematch, Hamza and Colby on the same card. That's an incredible night. That's a pay per view record smasher.
Yeah.
That's a big event.
Abu Dhabi. Imagine. I think that would be a good location for Abu Dhabi. But Vegas is the money maker. You know what I mean? Vegas would be right, but I don't know. It seems like every year they
Well,
want to go to Abu Dhabi.
if they're talking about a stadium show for the Leon Edwards Usman, that's another big fight because we all know with a stadium show you can't ride it all on one fight because chances are
Yeah.
that something's going to fall apart. Like
Yeah.
you need a backup fight, and that is the backup fight without a doubt. So stadium show in England, I feel like having both of those fights would be an incredible event.
Mark is saying, will Colby even take the fight? He is usually super selective, and Hamzat is a big risk. Man, if they put the money on the table, Colby is a gambler. Literally, he's a gambler. Like he goes out and plays professional poker, right? So if he loves to gamble and they're gonna bring that big money, I think he'll fight him. Especially if they're gonna give him a title shot after that, like guaranteed. Whoever wins it gets the next shot. And if Leon is still the champion, that's a good matchup for Colby, right?
Yeah, well, he's still suing George Masvidal, isn't he? So he's still like pretending like he's too injured
That's
to
true too.
compete, so he can sue Jorge Masvidal for loss of income. So I don't know. Depends on his legal situation, I guess.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, Hamzat, what can you say about his performance? He did what most people expected. He acted like most people expected. He's the heel now. I think he's become one of the biggest heels over a 5-day period. He went from like just being this guy that's, really good, talks just some
Yeah.
trash, you know what I mean? He's fun to watch. Now he's become someone that's hated by a lot of like MMA people. And the casuals, they don't give a shit. They're just watching fucking pay-per-views, and Hamza comes on, they're like,
Well,
yeah,
it's
that's it.
like it's weird that we obviously had the like it's been like a full on week of some pretty weird situations. Like I saw the argument with Paul Acosta where he's like with a group of guys at the PI. That happens more often than you think it does. Like guys just getting into each other at the PI. I don't think anything was that. And he's obviously like he's obviously keeps talking about a move up to 185 pounds, and that's a good fight for him at that weight. So it's obviously like a smart business move to set up that fight for a later date. With the press conference as well, like with the video coming out, and from the video they showed, from mine, nothing really happened.
Yeah.
We were waiting on this video, and there was kind of like a kick that didn't land, and that was it. Really, like you feel like
Cheated.
guys would have enough. Yeah, I felt cheated. Like I thought
Yeah.
some punches have been like I saw a water bottle get thrown, and a kick barely land. You know what I mean? You're
Yeah.
gonna can a press conference after that. I thought that was a bit of a letdown. And the funny thing about all of these is it's for selling fights, right?
Mm.
Like this is our second main job. Our main job is winning fights, which
Mm.
he's doing a very good job of that. And then our second job is selling fights. So, he was setting up a fight with Kevin Holland, which he capitalized on. Um, he's setting up a fight with Paulo Costa, which now we have some video, which is another exciting matchup that he can take in the future, because and I know full well from being at backstage and being at the PI, like I walk around by myself
Mm.
wherever I go. I don't walk around with a big crew of anyone. And if someone really had got under my skin and I really wanted to get at someone, you can get at people without a doubt. You don't
Yeah.
need to make the scene. And anyone that has actually knows anything about actually putting hands on people is you don't go around screaming and making noise and arguing and attract attention before you actually get into someone. That's and I'm just saying, if he actually wanted to hurt these guys, he can do it without making a scene.
There's a word that gets thrown around a lot in this game, and it's been thrown around a lot the past few years. Is the word gangster? Like, I think that word, the definition of gangster, has been lost. Like, it doesn't mean the same thing it did, back in the 90s. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't mean this. The gangster to now, gangster is like you have cameras everywhere, and then you go try to punk somebody from a distance, and you're held back. That's supposedly gangster now, right? Because that's what they say. Is like, I'm a gangster. I'll fight
It's
anybody,
not.
anytime,
It's
anywhere. It's
not.
not.
It's not. It's
Especially if
not
you have an
like
entourage of like 10 dudes with you.
you know, like. But again, like no one's a real gangster.
Exactly.
You can say whatever you want to say. There's no way that you can make it to this level of the sport with actually being a real gangster, because there's a reason. There's a reason, right? There's a few
Yeah.
UFC fighters with uh like very checkered past, but they've turned a new leaf. Like there's
Exactly.
some fighters that have done some time, like Darius Lewis done some time, D-Rod's like done some time and stuff like that. But they've obviously turned a new leaf and found like a very productive way to channel their negative emotions and their aggression. But saying that, like, guys are real gangsters, you
Yeah.
wouldn't. You'd just have an assault charge. You know what I mean? Look at Jorge Masvidal. It's going to
Yeah.
cost him millions of dollars for punching Colby Covington and breaking his Rolex. Like
Yeah.
Colby's going to take him to the cleaners, which is it's consequences at this level of the sport, and the consequences are just not worth it. All the real gangsters are in prison. That's where
Yeah.
all the real gangsters are, and
It
that's
seems like
undeniable.
yeah, it seems like the guys that are credentialed to be, if they were a gangster, a real gangster, like the guys that are credentialed, like those guys actually do not even act that way. You know what I mean? You see Derek Lewis, he's got happy go lucky. He's like happy to be where he's at in life. You know what I mean? Like he's like absorbing it as much as he can. You know what I mean? You see D-Rod, you don't see D-Rod throwing gang signs in the octagon. You know what I mean? Like that's not what you do. You mature, you move past that, and that's part of you, yes, and that's what made you who you are. But you grow up, and
But that's like the aspect of like WWE stuff that sells pay-per-views for fans, right? Like me as anyone else, like, oh, there was a fight backstage. Like, I want to see the footage of the fight. Like, I'm intrigued by that. Oh, he was yelling at Paulo Costa. Oh man, I want to see it for myself. So it generates a lot of talking points, and it sells pay-per-views, and it's very marketable, and it's a good way to promote your next fight. So I can definitely see the point in it. It's not for me. I don't like doing stuff for show. I know,
Well, we know that. You know what I mean? Anybody that knows you, we know that. You know what I mean? Like,
because you smile. Like I have fun. Like I walk around fight week, I smile, I shake everyone's hand, I having a good time because it is what it is. Like we're all professionals and we're getting like there's no to me it's not like real beef. When I see Khamzat and Paulo Costa barking at each other, it's not real beef. Like they don't really hate each other. When Kevin Holland and Khamzat trying to flying kick each other and throwing mortar bottles, it's not actual beef. It's just for
no.
the cameras.
Real beef is Jorge Masvidal running up on somebody at the restaurant. That's real beef. That's like
Well,
that's
he's a
real beef.
gangster.
Yeah,
He's a gangster. It's going to cost him a couple $1 million.
exactly. But you know, we know gangsters will take the risk of couple $1 million. That's the separation, right? Like gangsters will do that. And
That's why I
hey,
smile, wave,
Dad,
and shake hands.
yeah.
No
But
one's suing me, brother.
Dad, I know, like I've known you for a while. I know that you know what I mean. Like it's black and white for you though. Like you know, if you really think you could go that way, it's like okay, you're the type of guy that will oblige. You know what I mean? Like if you think it's real beef,
for sure.
yeah, for sure. Can you reveal any instances in the past like you would want to reveal about any? I'm just asking. You know, has there been any? You know what I mean? That we don't know about.
I never heard a fly, brother. I never heard a fly.
All right, all right.
My daddy taught me not to kiss and tell.
All right. Before we move on, because we gotta talk about the leech, man. The man, I think a lot of people are like hopping on the train now. Even though he lost the fight, I thought he performed really well in the fight. And he's the one who took the fight against a guy that weighed 10 more pounds than he did, right? Everybody else kind of compromised and fought guys near their weight. The leech fought D-Rod, who weighed in much bigger.
Why did D-Rod? So the D-Rod thought he was gonna keep fighting. Why was that gonna be a catch weight? I don't understand why he missed weight by so much.
I guess he probably just stopped cutting weight once they found out like they're starting to shuffle it. Most likely, I don't know. Did he? I don't know. That's something that I don't know for sure. Like, did he weigh in first and then they shuffled it? I'm pretty sure they shuffled it beforehand, right? I'm not for sure, man. Like, I'm supposed to know these things, but come on, I can't know everything. But yeah, the leech, man, the leech. He did a solid for the UFC. I think because this is my theory. I think because of the leech, what he did allowed everything else to fall into place, to be honest with you, because there was so much moving pieces, you know what I mean? And I thought he won the fight, to be honest with you. What did you think about the fight overall? It was a split decision, but
yeah, like tough one to score. I'd say, with D-Rod, the only thing he was really landing was his jab, right? Like he was getting his jab, he was catching. But I thought the leech was doing an incredible work with the kicks. I would say, for mine, like the more damaging shots to the kicks and the kicks to the body were landing quite well. Yeah, I had like the leech winning the first round. I feel like the second round, probably I leaned it towards the leech, and then the third round. But that was a close fight. I feel like there's arguments both ways. I feel like no one can really call robbery either side. For mine, I had it scored more towards the leech, but I can definitely understand why it went to D-Rod.
Mark was saying that Holland and D-Rod agreed to a catchweight fight before the shuffle. So I guess D-Rod was already going to weigh in at 180. Then Holland took the fight with Chimaev, and then it left Lee, the leech, without a fight. So he just stepped in at catchweight against D-Rod, most likely. And man, they all got paid. They all did. Kevin Holland talking about he's getting paid. The leech better have gotten paid, man. And Ferguson definitely got paid, right? It's just, man, the leech, D-Rod. I think the leech looked really good. I thought he used the kicks really well against D-Rod. He was landing a lot, man, with those kicks and the left hook. He was touching him with the left hook. You know what I mean? Constantly. I don't know, man. I just think it was a close fight, but I thought the leech won. Maybe I'm biased because we kind of look the same. I don't know.
I was like, you're just siding with him because
he just looks like me. Come on. You
It's
know,
from my continent. I'm
yeah,
going with the
we're in the
I've got
same region.
got a continent regional bias.
Yeah, exactly. We got regional bias, Eastern Hemisphere bias.
I like them both though. I've obviously met D-Rod at Syndicate when I was training over at Syndicate, and then I've known Leach since way back in the day.
Old
We
school
fought on the same card
legend.
in Legends in Macau in China.
Mhm.
I remember. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, cutting weight with that bloke. They were close to 10 years ago.
Also, Kevin Holland, man, the guy, he knows that Chimaev is the worst stylistic matchup for him, but he goes in there and risks it for the biscuit, basically, because he knows the bag is coming. His managers do a great job, most likely get him a lot of money. And respect to him for doing that, man, because even though you're getting a lot of money, you're still putting yourself out there to get humiliated in front of the world, possibly. You know what I mean? Especially in this type of stylistic matchup. And Holland didn't even land one punch, not even one strike.
You're trying to rub it in. You're rubbing
No,
it
I'm not
in.
trying to rub it in. I'm just saying
No,
that
I'm
it takes
joking.
a lot. It takes some balls to like know that you could go into this fight and stylistically the guy could just grab you and just hold you down and beat the shit out of you, right? But you take the fight anyways with because more than taking the beating is like the humiliation part of it, right? Where people are trying to attack you for like, you know, a poor performance or whatever. Because like you said, Dan, remember we've talked about this many times. It's like MMA will make you a meme and they will rub it in like a bad wound, you know, just salt all up in that bitch, right? Just rubbing it in, like ripping it open. Yeah, spitting on it. You know, you got staph infection, they're rubbing that shit on you. You know, it's just fucking bad, right? That's the internet for us, you know, for
Yeah.
fighters.
Oh, at the end of the day, though, it just hurts your ego, and your ego's just I don't know, like it hurts your ego, but your ego is just like this made up thing that you've like accumulated with a lot of like life experience. It's not. It doesn't actually like physically hurt to have your ego bruised. And once you understand that your ego bounces back, and it's really not the end of the world, um, yeah, I'm sure Kevin Holland will be back from that. I feel like everyone knows the stylistic. Like Nate Diaz said, man, my performance wasn't that great because I have just been wrestling for the last few months. Like he's just been wrestling. He's like, I haven't even been boxing. And then so Kevin Holland was preparing to fight D-Rod. So he's probably just been striking his entire camp. So to then go a striking camp to a grappling camp.
What the hell happened? I think we're having some
We back?
technical. Oh, there we go. There we go.
I
A
think we're
slight
back.
technical issue. And yeah, just continue, Dan.
Nah, I finished in the break. I really wrapped that up.
All right, wrap it up. Wrap it up. Yeah, yeah. So Kevin Holland, man, I think they should just put that fight back together. D-Rod, Kevin Holland. I like that fight. That's a fun
I
fight,
like
right?
that
Why
fight.
not?
I was looking forward to that fight. So that's like the big question, right? Everyone was asking it. It's like, did you like the card how it stood, or did you like the card after the changes? I'm gonna ask you. Do you like the pre or after card?
I'd like the pre. You know, I
It's
wanted
more
to
it's
see.
more it's more risky, right? Like
Yeah,
and that's why we do this sport. That's why we play this sport. That's why Nate took the Khamzat fight,
yeah,
right? Because it's a more risky fight. I feel like Tony as well, like Tony versus Lee, like that again is a more risky fight.
yeah.
Kevin Holland versus D-Rod, like stylistically, like a nice clean boxer versus like an awkward long guy, like that's like a riskier fight. And I believe like I feel like the way they changed it too was like the safer way to go about things. That was they played it safe, like two veterans, everyone loves. Yeah, all right, we'll watch them fight. But the excitement, like, man, when if it would have been Hamza and Nate, like when they were calling their names and stuff like that, I would have been rumbling inside. Like that's what
Yeah.
gives goosebumps. And we all know like how improbable it would have been for Nate to win that fight, right? But what if he did? What if he did? What if he
That's what
did?
I'm
What if
saying.
does Nate get dust? Probably not.
The thing is, like, what if Nate's just getting pounded on, right? And he throws up the triangle and just double bird, just everybody. Think about
Live.
that. We missed out on that shit. Like we missed out on that.
We watch this sport for stuff like that. We watch
Exactly.
this sport for moments like that. For Nate getting his head punched in for 4.5 rounds, locking up a triangle, flipping off the whole crowd, and getting the like moments like that.
Mhm.
There were all of us as fans. We had that in the back of our heads, right? We were
Yeah.
like, Nate's probably gonna lose, but there's this speck of hope living
Yeah.
inside all of our brains that we wanted to live. But we got to. I feel like we got a really safe card. I feel
Yeah.
like we got the safe card after that. I looked for the dangerous cards. I wanted to
Exactly.
risk. I wanted to risk it all. I was prepared to risk everything.
One of my favorite fights of all time is Anderson Silva versus Chelson in one. That's one of my favorite fights of all time because that's when Anderson Silva was just annihilating everybody. And Chael was coming in just talking crazy. I loved it, right? That was like that was peak Chael right there. Like Chael was just fucking phenomenal with his shit. And he was beating the shit out of fucking Anderson for 5 rounds. Every
I
like
remember
striking,
watching that.
wrestling.
I remember watching that. Just going. I was there for like it was like 24 minutes of just going. No way, no
That's,
way. Anderson's gonna lose.
that's what I'm
Anderson's gonna
saying.
Anderson's gonna lose a fight, and then throwing up that triangle and getting the submission. Like that's why we watch this. It's why I don't watch golf, right? It's why I don't watch golf. It's
I
not
only watch golf,
exciting.
so
It's not exciting enough for me. I need
nah.
to see someone gambling their life, or I'm uninterested in your sport.
Exactly, because like when I was a kid, I used to like I went to like over 100 Major League Baseball games as a kid because I like baseball. But now that I look back at it, baseball is boring as fuck. Like it sucks. I'll put it out there. Like I played baseball growing up. I went to baseball game. Now that I think about it, it's like if fighting was existed when I was a kid and I was able to
Yeah,
attend shows, like I would probably be at the shows watching the fights rather than at a fucking baseball game, right? Yeah, baseball sucks, dude. Golf. I like I like hitting balls, driving range is fun, but like watching that shit is like watching paint dry.
driving range,
Seriously. It's like
mini
I
putt.
just exactly. Well, hey, driving range challenge. Let's go. Top golf. I'll be there. Let's do it. But yeah, it's a wild man. Like you said, I agree with you. The pre-card was the better card. The matchmakers made those matchups for a reason.
Well, it's
They
like
made it for a reason.
it's more exciting, right? Like
Mhm.
had what happened to Holland happened to Nate, like I would be severely upset. Like I
Yeah.
wouldn't be. Like, I would have just watched it and been like, why did they put this fight together? I didn't want to watch this. Like I would have been like that. You know what I mean? Had he won, I would have been, what the? He won the fight. Like, and that's the roller coaster that we wanted to ride. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Just watching like Tony and Nate, I was a bit like I didn't want to see either of those guys lose. And that is a fight that I don't particularly have much interest in watching.
Yeah, and when all this shit was happening, right? Everybody's like, "Oh, they should." I don't know if people actually believe what they like say. I think they just say things just to be like, "Oh, I told you so." Like, I thought of this first. Like, I think a lot of people do that a lot, in this sport. But yeah, because they're like, "Oh, this is a better matchups. Let's switch it to this." It's like, shut the fuck up. Like, what are you talking about? You don't want to see Nate Diaz versus Khamzat Chimaev. You don't want to see fucking Tony Ferguson versus the Leeds. Come on, those are way better fights than what we got tonight. You know what I mean? Everybody got paid more and happy for that and all that, but oh man, it's just I hope this doesn't happen too often. I just hope it doesn't happen too often. But let's talk about the historic moment. Moving on down the card, the up kick liver shot KO. What? Are you gonna be practicing that on Monday morning?
I feel like that's something I already do in training. That's like, yeah, that was cool. That's like that's a pretty tricky thing to get a finish. The first one in history, right?
Yeah.
That's very, yeah. That was like, I thought it was funny, like how confused everyone was. Like everyone watching the fight just saw her like fall back and drop and was just like, huh? The whole crowd like went quiet. Was like, what? They were very. I loved the confusion of everyone watching. I was like, she kicked her in the. She
Yeah.
kicked her in the liver.
No, but I
That
thought she kicked her in the.
really hurts. Yeah. I think all the fans like thought she kicked her in the rug.
Because she dropped like, you know, like how like a dude would drop if they got kicked in the nuts and they just body went stiff and it just like timber, like kind of like that, right? Like a tree, just
I was
boom.
like, does it hurt? Does it hurt the same? I don't know.
I don't know.
I've actually been at like a local fight show event, and I had like one of the girls from my gym, like a younger girl, fighting from my gym, and then like she went, she like got in the ring and everything for the tournament. The referee comes around, yeah, mouth guard, and he goes, "Oh, has she got a groin guard on?" And I was like, and she just looked at me, and I was like, "What?" He's like, she needs a groin guard to compete. I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, that's a girl. I was like, do they make groin guards for chicks? I was
Now
like
they
mad
do.
confused. I didn't
Yeah.
even know they existed, but they do.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone in the UFC like wears them, but it's like it's like a piece of just a piece of plastic that they can just put like in their shorts. But yeah, they have a groin guard. I was
I, I
genuinely
was
I was genuinely interested.
I was talking with what is it Yan Zhangnan, you know, the Chinese fighter, the strawweight, and Mackenzie Dern as well. They both told me that they were, when they got kicked in the Netherlands, right? Like they were bleeding. Like after the fight, like they went to the back and they were bleeding. They admitted that, you know what I mean? So respect to them. But still, yeah, think of that. You know what I mean? Like they need a groin guard. They need one. Like you should wear one, right? Women, if you're fighting, please wear one because you don't want to have a instance like that, right?
Well, I did ask. I did ask, like, because the
Yeah.
guy was like, "I'm not gonna." We were standing in the ring, like all the fans are like waiting for the fight to start, and then he's like, "Do you need?" I was like still like genuinely confused that she had a groin guard, and I was like, "But what? But what is it for? Is it for like girls that have like big bits?" And the guy went red, like the referee. Like, I was asking a genuine question. The referee went like bright red, and I was like, "Do you want me to ask her if she's got like big bits?" And the referee just went bright red, and he's just like, "Forget about it, forget about it, forget about it." I'm moving on. I embarrassed the referee out of that situation.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be in that situation. That's very clear. You don't want to be in that conversation for sure. Let's see. We got a
He wanted
question
to.
for you. Let's see what it says. If he recognizes that it's not smart to fight anyone, why does he fight anyone? That is that's a interesting question.
For who?
For you, if he recognizes that it's not smart to fight anyone, why does he fight anyone? I don't know where that comes from, Super One, but
One more time.
maybe
One more time. One
he
more time.
says if he recognizes that it's not smart to fight anyone, why does he fight anyone? Sir, I
But
think you need to.
it's anyone under that's like a safe environment, right?
Mhm.
Like no one taking risky fights in an organization that has medical checks and clearances and referees and judges and doctors and ambulances and in a protected cage on a mat is not the same as fighting. It's not smart, like to
Mhm.
fight anyone. Like it's very dangerous to fight out on the streets. And I myself have had more fights out of the cage than I have had inside of the cage, and it's very dangerous. The concrete is dangerous. the variables are dangerous. Weapons are dangerous. So I would say, like, it's not smart to fight outside of the ring. But it's a
My
very
wife, yeah,
it's very
yeah.
all of the fights I get into are very calculated, my friend.
Yeah, of course, you're a professional now. I remember what my wife was saying, like, oh, it's don't you ever feel in danger when you're like in other countries, right? And I'm like telling her, I was in Phuket for 6 months. I was telling her most of the time I'm with either professional fighters or coaches that actually currently train. It's not like those, there's certain coaches that really don't train anymore. They're just like more of they use their mind. But I'm with guys that actually physically train all the time. So there's like really no worry for me. I'm like the bottom of the barrel, right? And everybody that I'm around can fucking kill everybody around us, right? So it's like I'm not worried about that. That's the least of my worries anywhere I go. You know what I mean? Because you're surrounded by trained martial artists, right? Guys that can control it. You know what I mean? The crazy people are the ones that can't control it. The I guess
Yeah.
unstable, individuals, right? So I want to stay away from those people. But going back to like what you just listed off, like judges, blah blah blah. That's the reason why nobody wants to do promotions, right? Is like all of that stuff that you just listed. That's just the beginning of it, right? It's like you don't want to go through all of that. You got to organize it all. It's
If we
crazy.
could just fight in a barn,
Yeah.
fight in a barn on some dirt and set a camera up, I'm sure there would be a lot more promotions. But I'm sure we would have a lot more deaths in our sport than we
Yeah.
currently have.
Well, if you go on YouTube, there's like all kinds of shit like that nowadays on there. There's dudes just fighting bare knuckle for nothing in a barn with hay bales surrounding the circle, and people are just
There's
screaming
a
and
lot of
yelling.
money in that. There's a
Oh,
lot of
really?
money in that.
Okay.
And well, are you talking about like the stupid Russian ones, or are you talking
Yeah, I'm
about
talking
like
about the stupid Russian. I'm not talking about like the
the
bear, like
legitimate?
BKFC. I'm not talking about
Nah, I'm talking
BKFC.
about like the legitimate. These are some of the best fights I watch, and I do spend a lot of time watching the gypsies, like gypsy fights, gypsy backyard
Yeah.
boxing,
Yeah.
and they'll have like fights between like different groups, different like clans of gypsies and stuff like that. But there's a lot of money on the line for those fights. Like they get like their whole community will get together and gamble a bet, and they'll bet against like another community. And these guys box, and you can go on like YouTube and watch like gypsy bare knuckle boxing, and there's some pretty incredible. Like these guys are slick. Like there's a lot of feinting. They take their time. Some of these fights are over an hour long, 50 minutes, 45 minutes. And they just fight.
Jesus.
There's no rounds, and they just fight until one of the guys quits, right? Or one of the guys gets knocked out. But these are very technical fights, and these guys are very good at fighting bare knuckle. And I think that's why we don't see these guys competing in like BKFC or stuff like that, because they make more money. They make more money like fighting to represent their family than they would in a professional organization.
Are they fighting like this? Are they doing this?
Ah, they
Is that
slick.
they,
These boys are slick.
they got you like
These
this,
boys.
huh?
Oh
Okay.
man, they can squabble. These boys can
Okay.
squabble.
Yeah. If you put it like that, if they're making more money fighting for their family, why would you even entertain going somewhere else and fighting, man? Just it's all cash, no tax. Come on, let's get that money.
You know what I mean?
I went the weekend before I came back here. I was in Bangkok, and they had the BKFC Thailand
Yeah,
show.
yeah.
Bull Cow fought in the main event. I was with some of the boys, Frank and Brad and Woody and all of them, and yeah, we were there at the event, and that show was supposed to be at some Muay Thai stadium. I think Roger Demir, it was supposed to be there, and they've been planning it for 2 days before the show. They told them you can't have the show at the stadium. Imagine that shit. And then they had to scramble for 2 days to move the event to this shopping mall. It's called, I forgot what it's called, but we went to the to shopping mall, and it was nice, man. They did a very good job. That was the fight where that girl she flashed everybody after she knocked out that other chick.
I did see that. I
Yeah,
did
is she
see
from
that.
New
I saw the
Zealand?
clip of that. I
Is
don't
she?
believe so.
Oh, she's
I do not
Australian then.
believe
If she's
so.
not New Zealand,
Trust
she's
me.
Australian. But you know what's messed up about that is that she was coming out right for the walkouts, and I was like, man, I need to get some water. I need to get something to drink. So I was just like, yo, I'm gonna go. And they're like, yo, what are you doing? Why are you leaving? She's gonna fight right now. I was just like, I don't care about that really. And so I leave, and by the time I come back, all of that shit had happened. Like she knocked the girl out, flashed her titties. We're in the front row, yo. Like we could have got a good view of that. Like, or I could have got a good view, but I missed it. And everybody's like, where the fuck were you? And I'm like, God dang it. I missed it, man. I missed
that's better than a Ringo, right?
Exactly, man. But because of that, she was everywhere. Everywhere. You know what I mean? Like, I think that video was like millions and millions of views on social media. Just went crazy. And MMA Fighting is interviewing her. You know what I mean? Like, come on. Like, MMA Fighting is interviewing. Like, she's making moves. So hopefully, she takes that advantage of that and moves on with her career. But yeah, the reason why I bring that up is because the promotion, they had to move the whole show in 2 days. And then, oh man, and Bull Cow fought? Bull Cow?
That's pretty mad. When I first saw that announced, because who else is? Bull Cow signed to a bare knuckle.
Sanchai as well.
Sanchai as well. He hasn't fought yet in bare knuckle.
No.
When they first got signed, and then people were saying, oh man, Bull Cow's going to fight bare knuckle. I was like, nah, he's just been paid to say he signed and like use it again as like a marketing play. But nah, he came out like legitimately. BKFC has some money to throw about. To have a guy like that fighting in bare knuckle is I tip my hat. They must be chucking your boys some change.
Definitely, especially at that age to go and fight bare knuckle. But I think they got that fight in just to get his feet wet. The next fight is gonna be in the US against somebody with a big name. They're gonna put that. Dave LeDuc's been calling them out forever. I just think they should sign Dave LeDuc and let them fight, man. They've been talking crazy back and forth. Or at least Dave LeDuc's been talking crazy about him, all the time. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, Bull Cow's like even acknowledged it. Bull Cow's just ignored it.
He doesn't care. Have you seen the Russian group fights? Oh, I've seen this. I think it's called like TFC, like Tag Team Fighting Championship. Have you seen that?
Man, there's some wild ones. I saw the one the other day that Israel shared with the what was it, the transgender chick for the guy? And Israel shared it, and he was like, "Who is sanctioning this? Who is like letting this? Who is it? That's legit, right? Though, if the person transitioning is not taking like the estrogen blockers and things like that, and has like the testosterone of a man, then it's just like a man fighting
a man
with like fake tits and long hair, right?
Exactly.
Like that's like too,
So
scientifically, I'm saying I have no opposition to that.
We're not geneticists. We're not gender professionals. So don't trip about what we're saying. You know what I mean? But I know what you're talking about. I did see a clip of that. Yeah, it's some wild stuff. Even like, have you seen the one where they have like a long, narrow ring, and then there's like 5 guys on each side, and they're wearing like kickboxing gloves. So basically, they're kickboxing like 1-on-1, but as a team and shit. Like it's a long, narrow ring. It looks crazy, man. But
no, I haven't seen that. I've seen the one where they got like the team one, and they're in like an obstacle course. Have you seen that one? Like a 3-on-3, and they're like fighting in like an obstacle course. That one's sick. And then what was the other one? There was the one where there was like a shipping container.
Mm-hmm.
Like a shipping container was like hovering over a lake.
Oh yeah.
And it had the guys fighting on the top of the shipping container, and the guy got hit and got knocked off the shipping container into the water. That was sick.
Yo,
I'll watch anyone fight anywhere.
My question is, you get knocked out, right? And you fall into the water. Does the water wake you up?
I guess how bad the knockout is, but you might get like some serious whiplash if you God.
That's what I'm saying. Your body's completely limp, right? You hit that water, it's like hitting a brick. Especially, it all depends on how high you are, right? That's a dangerous thing right there, man.
The phone booth as well. I like the phone booth one. These are.
Have you seen the car ones where they're doing jiu-jitsu in the car?
I have seen those. That's what's that? Full Metal Dojo. was
Exactly.
doing
Full
that.
Metal Dojo has everything. They have phone booth fighting, car, jujitsu, Siamese
Leg,
twins,
leg, leg wrestling. Yeah, the
leg
Siamese
wrestling.
twin,
Yeah,
kickboxing.
it's all great,
Some
man. It's all great. It's all good. It's all good fun. You know what I mean? Like watching it, spectator, respect the athletes. It's all good fun, man. People are gonna get hurt, but you're just happy it's not you, right?
still better than watching badminton.
Yeah. Yeah, it's there's well, there's a I could give you a long list of sports that are just terrible to watch. Someone bananas and grapes says I love baseball. Hey, you love whatever you want, man. It's a free world. I just think boring baseball
Oh,
is boring.
sad face. You're upsetting our fans.
Yeah. Well, bananas and grapes, man, that's a bad combination already. So, when's the last time you drank a banana and grape shake? Never. Sorry, guy.
I don't know.
Um, Dan, let's talk about
You're just further offending our.
yeah.
He's never gonna watch our show ever again.
That's what they come here for, to be offended once in a while, right? That's what you want to do. Like you want to be offended sometimes because you want to get a rise, right? Like you want that. Let's talk about New York City. Claudio Puejes. I think that's how you say his name. I've interviewed with him before. A good dude, very good. Trains out of Sanford MMA. A good gym at Kill Cliff Fight Club now. So all the Kill Cliff
Oh, they
gear that you
changed their
have, you can't wear it
names.
anymore. Yeah.
Or the Killcliff gear.
Kill Cliff Fight Club is the name of the gym now. It's not Sanford MMA.
Like Killcliff, like Israel did a Killcliff,
Yeah,
Kiwi, or
something, right?
whatever it was called.
Yeah. But he's
Wasn't
sponsored
the
by the
best.
drink, right? But then Kill Cliff
I'm not.
now sponsors the gym, the whole team.
I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. You know
Yeah,
what
of
I
course.
mean?
Of
If
course.
I never have to drink a Killcliff ever again, I'm not gonna lose sleep over it.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. I've never even drank Kill Cliff, so I don't even know what it tastes like. So I have no idea. I'm just saying. But yeah, Claudio, man, that's a matchup that came out of left field. I'm gonna be honest with you, Dan. Like a lot of people are like, "Whoa, Claudio, like how did that happen?" Because like you're angling for the Tony fight. Everybody expected you to get a name, like a big name, But the dude is dangerous. That's without a doubt. He's dangerous. And how long you been in camp for this one?
Like I've been training pretty
Oh,
consistently
yeah.
the last couple of months, so it's not. But we start tomorrow.
Oh, okay. So
So
tomorrow's
camp
day one.
starts. Yeah. Day one, like we like pick things up a little bit.
Mhm.
Switch to like 7 days a week, starting from tomorrow. I think we're going over like a little bit early. Like we're going over 2 weeks before the fight instead of
Okay.
um, the usual 1 week. I don't know what the plan is there. Whether we're going West Coast and then going over to the East Coast or whatever. Whatever.
You're just on the ride.
Yeah, yeah, man. I like my management team just put this fight together. Like I
Mhm.
didn't. I just got the contract with the deal already done and just signed it and sent it back. Like it wasn't. Yeah, I don't know how this fight came together, but I'm excited for the match. I feel like he's a like a good quality opponent. He's a tough young kid. He's on a good streak. I just call him the Nibar kid because I'm not very good at saying his last name. But yeah, Nibar Clay Guida. Clay Guida was a fight that I think the fans were excited that might potentially get put together, and this is the guy that beat him. So I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited for this.
You always take those fights, man. Like the fights that like I think a lot of dudes probably don't want to fight him, and that's why they probably brought him up. You know what I mean? A lot of probably dudes probably said, I'll skip
I'm
him."
happy. Like I understand. I understand. Like the questions that get asked,
Mhm.
and the question that gets asked is like, does he still belong in that top echelon, in that top 15? Does he still belong in those rankings? And so I'm happy to go outside of the rankings and answer that question. You know what I mean? If they think that this kid is like on my level, I'm happy. I'm happy to oblige, and I'm kind
Yeah.
of happy to show everyone that he's not. Like that's just I know where I stand in the division, and then how I stuck up against the top echelon, and yeah, tough kid, hungry kid on a good streak, but yeah. I'm one of the best in the world.
And it's a card, man. It's like there's a lot of pieces intertwining with like city kickboxing and this new gym that they have. It's named Bang Tower or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you guys have this close connection with them, and they have Whaley training over there, right? She's doing her camp over there. She's been there for her last 2 camps actually, and she's fighting in the co-main event. So you guys got a lot
So
of like good like energy, man. Like you, Brad, Carlos, Israel, Whaley. You never know, somebody could hop on at last minute. Who knows? But
like
that energy. Yeah.
a big part of the sport is that like the energy you're speaking about, and is momentum. Like a huge aspect of our sport is momentum. So going over there with like 4 guys from my team and the Hickman brothers potentially coming over with the fighters representing Bang Tao, and having like that like a lot of close knit people at the event and surrounding us leading in is generates a lot of momentum, right? And momentum right now is something that I need to get back on track. I feel like Claudio is a good opponent, answers a lot of questions, and builds momentum for me, moving back into the fighting guys that are ranked, fighting guys in the top 10, fighting guys in the top 5. It all starts with momentum, and that's just the stage I'm at right now is generating momentum, and I feel like this is the perfect opponent and the perfect environment to start generating momentum.
Yeah, man. It's kind of similar to the Nasrat fight in a way, you know, like you're coming off a loss and you had to, I don't know if you have to prove yourself, but you know, you have to go out there and get a win, right? So they give you a young gun, a guy that's coming up in the rankings, and you got to teach him a lesson so he could bounce back. You know, basically that's what it is, right? You have to teach the
Yeah,
young
yeah,
kid a
yeah.
lesson, right?
Without a doubt. You have to prove yourself. Like when
Yeah.
people start asking questions, yeah, it is what it is. You have to prove yourself. I'm fully aware of that, and I'm very happy to oblige.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be a good event for the boys. You know what I mean? The boys. Yeah, it's when you go out there with the team, it's a different, like you said, the energy, the vibe. It's just everybody's focused. Everybody's have one goal in mind. I think that that's
Mm.
so important. Um, yeah, man. Let's let's see what happens. Someone said, who is Carlos fighting? He's fighting a guy. He has a very long last name, and it starts with the N. So I'm not gonna try to say his name because everybody will butcher it, right? Everybody. So let's chill on the name, but we go look it up, man. Like internet, Googles. There's the Googles. Go into Googles and find
To the
out.
goodness. I'm committed to never to not saying that name anymore. But now when people ask me that name, I've said it wrong multiple times, and I'm just gonna leave it. I'm just gonna
Yeah,
leave it.
exactly, right? You call him
Carlos,
the knee bar kid,
be my kid.
and
That's
the
my
knee
guy.
bar kid, and Carlos's opponent. We don't have a nickname for him yet, so we'll figure it out.
I have to watch his fights. I don't know what he's good at yet.
Exactly. Man, before we head out, we got a couple minutes. Let's talk about next week's main event. Somebody that you've trained with. You actually knew him when he was like not even in the UFC, most likely, right? Corey Sandhagen at
Yeah, he
Elevation.
was like
Yeah.
he would have been like 2-0, 3-0 as a professional, like coming up. And I just remember coming into Team Elevation with the team. I obviously had a connection with Neil Magny, which is what like brought me over, and Matt Brown was training in there at the time, Corey Sandhagen, TJ Dillashaw, and guys like that. So yeah, man, it was cool. Like coming into the camp, and Corey was like the one everyone was behind. Like people pointed at him, and I'd watch him spar, and I'd train with him, and I was just like, man, this kid's a freak. This kid's a gun. And everyone else was singing the same tune. They were like, this kid's a freak. This kid's gonna be UFC champion one day, and he is like well on track to like realizing those expectations that he's been carrying the whole time.
Yeah, and he's proven, man, that he is at that level. His last 2 fights he's lost, but the first one was a close split decision. to TJ Dillashaw, a former training partner, which a lot of
I
people
had him
thought
winning
Corey
that,
won.
dog. I had him winning
Uh,
that, dog.
yeah, a lot of people had him winning that. You know what I mean?
Look at the damage. Like damage is like a huge scorer in our sport, and like TJ still hasn't fought yet because of the damage that he accumulated in that fight. So for Corey to fight, yeah, twice before TJ fights once is like that's a huge like telling sign of
Yeah.
the legitimate result of that fight.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what TJ does against Sterling. I think that's going to be a super interesting fight. I don't think anybody has like a full advantage over the other in that fight. Going back to Sandhagen, his last fight was against Peter Yan, which he lost to unanimous. But also that fight was pretty close as well, man. Like they were going at it. I thought that was one of the best fights of 2021, in my opinion, especially in the bantamweight
Yeah,
division.
yeah. No, that was a very good fight. That was a good close. Yeah, that stylistically was a fight. I was very I believe I believe I was very drunk by watching that fight. I remember watching that fight back at the hotel in Abu Dhabi, and I was quite blind by the end of that fight. I have to be honest. Drinking sorrows away is a
Yeah.
dangerous game. Let's just say that.
Especially in a hotel room, and you can't go nowhere, right? You can't go nowhere, right? Like
Can't leave, baby, can't leave.
that is that is that is the closest thing to prison that you could get, right? Like you're not in the right mind state, and you can't go anywhere. You're just stuck in a room, like
That
you
closest thing
know.
to prison was those quarantine facilities that they put us in when we got back. But they actually they like capped the amount of alcohol you could have. So
Yeah.
you're only allowed like 6 drinks or six beers, and you like weren't allowed. But it was like it's like being a kid again. Like you weren't allowed to order them until after 3 p.m.
Yeah.
You got like your 6 drinks. You're only allowed like 6 drinks a day. And I think it was just so people didn't get drunk and be like, I'm not staying here anymore. I'm leaving.
just just throw a chair out the window as a distraction, and then run out the other
Oh,
way.
I would have. Hands down, I would have put a chair through the window without a shadow of a doubt.
So they were limiting people to 6 drinks. If I have 6 drinks, I would be plastered. Like I would like that wouldn't help me. 6 drinks is too much. You know,
That's
like I
a
can't handle
that's a
my alcohol.
that's a that's a regional disadvantage.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. With his opponent, right, Song Yadong, beautiful name. Um, man, he's been on a tear, man. Like he's only lost once in the UFC to Cowler Phillips, and then he had a draw against Cody Stamen. But he knocked out Marlon Moraes, knocked out Julio Arce, got a decision over Casey Kenny. A lot of he beat Marlon Vera by decision. So he has some good performances against really high level guys. I
Mm-hmm.
think this one's going to really tell us if he's championship level.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt, this will tell us whether he's championship level or not. Corey, for mine, is he's right up there. He's top
Yeah.
five. He's elite. He's definitely going to work himself back into title contention. Just like he's one of my favorite strikers in the UFC, and I feel like he's one of the most diverse and versatile, and probably yeah, top two or top three best strikers in the UFC. I would pin Corey Sandhagen down as.
He has he has some of the lightest feet I've ever seen, I think, as a fighter.
Great forward, great forward.
From that basketball background, just jumping all the time. I think what it is, I think that helps him a little bit, right? The athleticism that he has from basketball, or just he's just light footed, man. It's just weird. He doesn't move. You know, a lot of guys don't move like him, and if they want to, you can't even learn it. It's just like something's in
No,
him, right? So yeah, it's gonna be a fun fight, man. I think there's gonna be a finish. I don't think they're gonna go all 5 rounds. I think
no.
Song Yadong throws everything into all of his strikes. He's
Yeah.
looking to like decapitate you. Corey's more of a smoother. He's more of a smoother guy, right? But he'll still decapitate you because you know we've seen that with Frankie Edgar. Yeah, man. I don't know if I'm gonna make a pick, I would go with Corey Sandhagen because of the diversity. and as well as the level of competition too. Man, he's been fighting
Yeah.
champions. You know what I mean? After
And
champions.
those are like obviously two losses, but incredibly close fights. Like the TJ fight, I thought I won. The PDR fight was still a very competitive fight, and he took that on short notice, I believe, for a 5 round fight. So, yeah, like his results. He's never been. I don't think he's ever been knocked out from memory. Corey's
No.
never been knocked out, or I can't even remember him being dropped. Like he's just very defensively sound and very hard to hit.
Yeah, and yeah, like you said, he's very hard to hit, and he doesn't really get hit too much. Lately, he has because he's fighting the best of the best. It's very hard to like fight the best of the best and not get hit. Anyways, appreciate everybody joining us today. We're gonna shut it down. Make sure to go to the descriptions below. Download the app. The app will help you. It's gonna give you alerts when we have a show coming up. All of that good stuff. You know, Dan's got an interview. You can watch them all on the app. Everything. So get on it. Dan, appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on. And I see you a Raiders fan. So we're gonna have to end it with that.
Up the Raiders.
All right.